Hello, everyone. This is Janet here from Drupon Mountain Center, and joining me today are uh, Drupon Lama Dorje. Lama's vision is to awaken the happiness of all beings, unite all cultures in global peace, and regenerate our home, the earth. And with Lama today is Carolina Putnam, who travels the world with Lama as his translator and personal assistant and serves as co-director of the Lama Dorje Foundation. So Lama will be teaching a program at DMC this September called Cultivating Compassion, a Lojong Mind Training Retreat. So these instructions are centuries old. They give us effective methods for practicing wisdom and compassion that are fresh and relevant today, both in sitting meditation and in daily life. And this practical method of mind training shows us how to overcome obstacles in our practice and how to be mindful of tricks of the mind. So Lama, I wanted to invite you to say more about how the Lojong or mind training might help us during these difficult times in all of our lives and indeed in the world.
Entiendo. ¿Cuál más importante, no?
Yep.
Okay, primero, muchos saludos, bendición para Lama.
First of all, I just want to give my blessings and say hello on behalf of Lama.
Entonces, ese retiro va haciendo en la Mountain. Y ese retiro muy importante, uno de los retiros más importantes.
So we're going to be doing this retreat in Jala Mountain, and I'm really excited about it because it's a very important retreat. The topic is very important.
Entonces, Lojong es como normalmente toda la Dharma de Buda es como Lojong para internamente la mente, ¿no?
And so really all of the Buddha Dharma is about mind training. It's about Lojong.
Entonces, hoy día nosotros tenemos dificultad en nuestros pensamientos, las emociones, ¿no? Obstáculos externos e internos. Entonces, todo tiene que ver a nuestra mente.
And so really these days we have a lot of different obstacles. We have inner obstacles in our mind. We have outer obstacles in our life. And all of this actually has to do with the mind.
Entonces, ese Lojong, 7 puntos como Lojong, vamos enseñando cada día uno o dos Lojong y también con la enseñanza basada en amor y compasión y sabiduría, ha de transformar nuestra mente.
And so in this retreat, what we'll be doing is going through the 7 points of Lojong mind training through Atisha. And we'll be doing 1 or 2 of the mind trainings a day and then be able to base those teachings in the teachings of love and compassion.
Entonces, eso Lojong es una manera de como la regenerar nosotros los pensamientos negativos y transformar y día a día nuestra vida cotidiana.
And so what Lojong does is it really helps us to encounter the difficulties that we have in daily life and be able to utilize those to transform them.
Eso es muy importante.
Y su pregunta es, hoy en día tenemos mucho caos en el mundo, muchos problemas. So, ¿por qué está tan importante? ¿Por qué esto, como sabiduría es fresco, ahorita es fresh y todavía necesitamos en estos tiempos tan problemáticos en el mundo?
Por eso hoy día nosotros, uno de las dificultades de nuestra mente, ¿no? Ausencia de amor y compasión, porque está sucediendo el mundo explotando nuestros venenos, aflicciones, ¿no?
The reason why we're having so many challenges in the world today, like from war, politics, all of these kind of things, is because there's an absence of love and compassion. And so what we need to do at the root of all of that is actually transform our minds to actually embrace love and compassion.
Entonces, ese fundamento comienza dentro de cada uno de nosotros.
So this change fundamentally starts within each one of us.
Primero impacta la propia vida.
First, impact our own life,
familia,
then your family.
Y ahí poco a poco por el mundo entero.
And little by little, you start to influence the entire world.
¿Y alguna pregunta?
Do you have any other things that you'd like to ask or to elaborate on?
I'm just so touched by what Lama just said, and I mean, my hand is on my heart. I'm just I know that it's the hardest thing in the world for me personally to do. But when there's something challenging going on around me, I notice myself kind of getting tight and tense and but almost without fail, when I can let myself cry, when I can let my heart be touched by something, it changes. I change, and there's often a way forward that I didn't know was there.
Dice que como eso es la más difícil cosa para hacer en el mundo, es actualmente cambiar la situación. Yo veo cuando hay cosas que pasan afuera de mí, yo me pongo muy tenso y quiero cerrar. Pero en los momentos que yo realmente llora y déjame a llorar y permitir que la experiencia me toque el corazón, ahí mismo puedo cambiar algo y abrir. Entonces yo puedo ver que actualmente transformando la situación es la manera para caminar adelante.
Yes.
Yeah, we were speaking a bit about that the other day with Lama, just that, all, as he mentioned earlier, all of the things that are really going on in the world, there's more and more exacerbated examples of what happens when we're not in touch with ourselves and our true nature. And like we're seeing like extreme examples of greed and jealousy, that's war, anger, not being able to sit at the table and communicate, and different ways that our attachments or uncontrollable desire, cutting the trees and the plastics and all the things, these are very exacerbated complex issues that are stemming from our own lives and what we're actually valuing as an individual and a society. So when we can actually take that moment, like you just said, when we can take even the most mundane of experiences and really allow it to touch us deeply, when we're practicing that in our family, we're practicing it at work, and we're practicing it in what seems like a tiny kind of, a small like kind of experience, but when we practice over and over and over, I think that's when we're actually creating a mind stream that is trained, and a mind stream that's trained and tamed in love and responding in love and compassion. So when bigger situations arise, we see examples like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whose birthday it is today. We see examples of people that can respond in both small and big situations with love and compassion. And I think that's why Lojong is so important these days, because we have to be able to utilize, like he said, the very daily life experiences and really just move our mind stream into responding through compassion and understanding.
Porque, voy a agregar cosa, porque nosotros naturaliza fundamentos somos pureza.
Because our true nature is actually pure.
De posibilidad puede transformar a ser mejor personas.
Because our true nature is pure, there's a possibility to fully transform ourselves into positivity.
Todo ahora nosotros actuamos fuera de nuestra naturaleza, como la apego, rabia, ego, todo. Eso no te naturaliza, no pertenece a nosotros, ¿cierto? Es algo temporal, no te nos naturaliza.
Really, all these things where we're acting out of our nature or aside from our nature, where we're acting out of attachment or anger or pride, this is actually not our true nature, and they're just temporary afflictions.
Entonces, Lojong permite, por ejemplo, de aflicción, esa dificultad, adversidad, transformando dentro de la sabiduría y felicidad.
And so what Lojong does is it allows us to transform adversity into the opportunity of happiness.
Y como si fuera un compost.
It's kind of a compost that generates happiness.
Programa ya ustedes saben, ¿no? Yo no necesario. Y ese es como 7 puntos, es Lojong, ¿no? Entonces, y vamos, si quieres, tú quieres leer las 7 puntos.
¿Tú quieres?
Los 7 puntos para que vamos a hacer. Acá tenés 7 puntos, mira. English.
No, es más abajo. Ah, okay.
Acá, mira.
Okay.
Tiene 7 puntos, se
Okay.
va mejor no a persona.
Okay, so he said, I just want to go ahead and share what the 7 points are of this particular mind training that we're going to discuss. And so there are many different ways of presenting this instruction, but the tradition of Geshe Chakwa follows the 7 points. So the 7 points are the preliminary teachings of the supporting instructions.
Eso uno.
The second one is the main practice of training in bodhicitta. The third is how to bring adversity onto the path to enlightenment. And the fourth is how to apply the practice throughout one's whole life. The fifth is the measure of mind training. The sixth is the commitments of mind training. And the seventh is the precepts of mind training.
Entonces, ese 7 puntos.
So these are the 7 points that we'll go over together.
Y entonces, eso vamos haciendo paso a paso discusión, ¿no?
And what we'll do is we'll go through them step by step and have a discussion. And we'll have plenty of time to actually, what's wonderful about a retreat is that we have time to like actually apply it to our life and really have time to reflect and to journal, to have, breakout groups and to have time to ask advice from Lama, like how would I actually apply this in this very particular context in my life? And so I feel like that's what makes it really special when we do take the time out of our busy schedules to go and sit with the land, to eat together, to pray together, to practice in mindfulness, and then to actually be able to consider like, how am I going to integrate this into my life as I step away and back into the world? And not only just like, how do I integrate it into my life, but how do I actually transform experiences which might open other people to the possibility of practicing the Dharma or just, practicing the way of happiness.
Eso, entonces por eso tende y importante eso nosotros no solamente como si fuera un jefe, ¿no? Como que decide toda nuestra vida.
Our mind is like the boss and it's deciding what's going on in life.
Sí, hoy día nuestro mundo sufrimos por la nuestra mente, ¿no? Todo mundo se como no consiguiendo transformar, ¿no? Con mente salvaje.
The suffering that we're all experiencing in the world is about having an untamed mind. It's because our mind is running wild.
Por eso yo siempre diciendo, hoy día nosotros no sufrimos falta de algo externo, se materializa, ¿no? Pero falta de ausencia de amor, la compasión, la conciencia, ¿no?
Most of the troubles that we're experiencing these days aren't because of a lack of external resources or access. It's because of a lack of love and compassion on the inside.
Entonces, por eso nuestra mente ahora permite para volver nosotros casa natal.
And so when we're working with the mind, it helps us to return to our innate house or home.
Como dar y tocar, ¿no?
And
tocar y tocarse nuestra mente, ¿no?
So we need to re-educate our minds.
Entonces, cuando mente está transformado, está feliz, no importa, independiente de la condición externa.
When the mind is transformed, it's always happy, independent of any external conditions.
Porque ahora nosotros mente, servicio de nosotros, los 5 venenos de mente, ¿no?
Right now, our minds are under the service of the 5 poisons.
¿No? Cuando con la confusión,
under confusion,
cuando apego,
attachment,
rabia,
anger,
ego
or
envidia.
pride, envy.
Entonces, nosotros, cada vez que viene mente apego, nosotros, cuerpo, palabra, hacemos un servicio.
So
¿no?
anytime our mind becomes under the influence of attachment, our body, speech, and mind become at service of that attachment.
Como siguiendo con eso, ¿no?
We're following it.
Entonces, ahora nosotros de transformar.
And
Entonces,
so,
vamos a hacer servicio de amor y compasión, la conciencia.
So now we want to transform that so that our body, speech, and mind are under the service of love and compassion.
Entonces, eso llama Lojong
And
significa,
so
¿no?
that's what it's meant by Lojong.
Fundamental nosotros para trabajar la bodhicitta se llama.
And the most fundamental level, what we're talking about is working with bodhicitta.
Bodhicitta es uno de las joyas que existe, que desea cumplir de todos los seres uno mismo.
So bodhicitta is like the precious jewel that fulfills all the wishes of all beings and of yourself.
Más que una joya externa.
And it's even more precious than an external jewel.
Imagina una joya externa nosotros puede tener, no satisfecho. Mientras tenemos, nunca como satisfecho, ¿no?
So even if we have this like precious like diamond or jewel or something, we're still never really satisfied with that.
Entonces, cuando encontramos ese joya interno bodhicitta,
When we encounter the inner jewel of bodhicitta,
puede satisfacer eso,
it
satisfecho.
really brings us deep satisfaction.
Entonces, como internamente altruista,
So
bodhicitta, ¿no?
training the mind to be altruistic in
Oh,
bodhicitta.
ya, ese es como lojong fundamental, ¿no?
So that's the fundamental lojong.
Nosotros vida manejada por la bodhicitta,
And so
guiada por la
and
bodhicitta,
allow our minds and our life to be guided through
y
bodhicitta.
familia guiada por la bodhicitta,
May our families be guided by bodhicitta.
comunidad,
Our communities
mundo.
and our world.
Entonces, mundo está iluminado, ¿no?
And then we're talking about an enlightened society.
Eso realmente posibilidad para hacer
And
eso,
that's
¿no?
an
Llegar.
actual possibility to arrive to.
Si no, nosotros gritamos, oh, paz, mundo, paz, nunca va a venir.
Or else we can just keep talking about global peace, but it's never going to come.
Como recetando receta de los doctores, ¿no?
It's
Nunca
like
come.
if a
Nunca
doctor
come.
gives you a prescription and you just repeat the prescription over and over, it's not
Ninguno no
helpful.
come.
You're not actually taking the medicine.
Oh, ya. Entonces, medicina es realmente comiendo la día lojong. No necesariamente, oh, yo voy templo, o algo, no sé, no necesariamente. Como cuando te comemos, cuando dormimos, cuando trabajamos, todo lojong.
So
todo
the medicine is lojong. It's practicing bodhicitta, and it's not needing to go to a temple or reciting the mantras or the practices. It's every moment when you eat, when you work, when you walk. Every moment is a possibility of training the mind.
Entonces, uno comparte cuando Lama, por mi experiencia, cuando tuve en retiro, 4 años, ¿no? Supongamos. Y durante ese 4 años, muy tranquilidad, mi mente tranquila, calma, ninguna pues no insulta, no critica, muy feliz, como se sienten iluminados.
He said that just one last thing that I'll share you is I was in 4 years of solitary retreat in the mountains of India. And during that time, there was no one there to provoke me. I was doing my prayers and doing my, my practices. And I mean, there's almost a sensation of feeling enlightened, like you're totally free from these afflictions.
No necesita lojong.
And you don't need lojong
yeah.
in that moment.
Cuando yo fui como la Chile, ¿no?
But then when they asked me to go to the middle of the city in Chile, in South America,
ahí desperta todo, ¿no?
he's like, oh yeah, that's when all those afflictions started to wake up again.
Yeah. Porque mi tendencia, todo está dormido.
Because all these tendencies were actually asleep during retreat.
Entonces ahí necesita como alguien me insulta, crítica, ¿no?
So you really need people to insult you. You need them to criticize you.
Entonces ahí como realmente puede aplicar eso, ¿no?
And then you can really apply it.
Una oportunidad.
It becomes an opportunity.
Una práctica, vivencia,
It's
¿no?
like a living experience or living practice.
No puedes separar tu dharma en vida.
You can't separate dharma and life.
Entonces por eso cualquiera nuestra dificultad de día a día con la atención plena, con mindfulness, y puede resolver todo, transforma, ¿no?
And so if really every single experience that we're having in life, if we can take the moment to really apply these practices, that is the actual practice.
No sé, entonces uno de los lojong dice, ¿cómo llama? Una última, no sé, no mucho tiempo, ¿no? Como una frase dice, lojong me siempre gusta, yo siempre practicando, dice, todos los seres muy bondadosos.
So one of the slogans in Lojong, it says that all of the beings are so kind.
Sí, bondadoso, grande maestro, ¿no?
And they are my great master.
Entonces, tiene muchas razones, ¿no?
And it has a lot of reason to it.
Entonces, todos preguntamos, todos nosotros queremos felicidad, ¿no?
So we ask ourselves, we really want to be happy, right?
Quiere felicidad verdadera, independiente externos.
We
¿no?
want true happiness, regardless of external conditions.
Entonces, queremos felicidad. ¿Cuál es la causa de felicidad?
So if we ask ourselves, like, if we want to be happy, we need to know what are the causes of happiness.
Causa felicidad, amor incondicional, compasión, ¿no?
The cause of happiness is love and compassion and bodhicitta.
Entonces, ¿eso dónde viene?
And where does that come from?
No podemos cultivar en la tierra,
You
¿cierto?
can't cultivate that in the earth.
En la piedra,
Or
¿no?
you can't, cultivate love and compassion with a rock.
Entonces, seguramente necesitan los seres.
So you need beings.
Especialmente alguien me grita, ¿no?
Especially the ones that are yelling at you.
Ahí realmente desperta cierta rabia,
And then your anger wakes up.
¿Qué necesita en ese momento?
Then what do you need to do with that?
La paciencia.
Patience.
Si no, él no grita a mí.
If they didn't yell at you,
Yo no, mi paciencia ha dormido.
then my patience is asleep.
Nunca va a desarrollar.
And I'll never develop it and grow
Por eso
it.
es fundamental. Lojong tiene esa cosa,
So
¿no?
that's the cool thing about Lojong.
Lojong, ¿no? Toda cosa malos, maravillosa oportunidad,
So
¿no?
what you do is everything that's considered bad at the forefront, you actually change it and it becomes very good opportunity for
Por eso
practice.
yo diciendo uno compost.
So that's why I'm calling it compost.
Y eso.
That was such a beautiful story, and it made it so accessible and so relevant to certainly to my everyday life, but to our everyday lives. That so thank you for sharing that,
Muy
and
hermoso.
thank you for.
Muy hermoso esta cuenta y que es muy como relevante, es muy como accesible a la vida cotidiana y a mi vida
Maravilloso.
personal y de lo demás.
Thank you both so much for taking the time to talk with us today about the program. There will be a link to the program where you can find out more about it, register, learn more about Lama Dorje and Carolina and their wonderful work in the world. And thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenna. And we're so much looking forward to being back at Jala. It was such a special experience for us. And so we're really happy to have a whole week with y'all and have an opportunity to go deep together.
We are very much looking forward to having you.
Y aparte de Lama, muchas gracias, ¿no?
And on behalf
Gracias
of
para
Lama, I
usted
just want to say thank you so much.
y todo la grupo de la Mountain.
And to all of the staff and the team of Jala
Entonces,
Mountain.
también todo el mundo invitamos, ¿no? Para cualquier persona puede venir.
And I want to invite everybody in the world to come.
Como discutir sobre nuestra vida.
And to come and discover about our lives.
Cómo realmente mejorar nuestra vida.
How to really make our lives better.
Como más equilibrio.
And to bring more balance.
Es una oportunidad.
It's a great opportunity.
Yo le sé, todos nosotros tenemos muy ocupados,
I
¿no?
know we're so busy.
Pero tenemos que organizar.
But we got to organize our time.
Eso muy vale la pena. Es muy importante, uno generoso uno mismo.
It's really worthwhile and it's very generous to yourself and to others.
Cultivar amor y compasión.
To cultivate love and compassion.
Eso invitado todo.
So I want to invite everyone to do so.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.